Okay, I have procrastinated on this video for a number of weeks. I've struggled to put it together. It's all to do with the XPS 13 2-in-1. If you're wondering, I mate, can't help but notice you've got two of them there. Yeah, Dell sent this one out for review, and 2 days after this arrived, this happened. Yeah, I bought my own. When the reviewer buys his own product, you can tell how this is going to go. But look, this is my favourite laptop of all time. It's the second one that I've bought with my own money. I bought the 10th gen version back in 2018. I'm struggling to find another laptop that I want more than the XPS 13. But the reason why I'm struggling to make the video on it is because it's awful value. It's massively overpriced. And I'm struggling to articulate why I like it so much, right? I'm struggling to pitch it in a way that'll resonate with people, because all the reasons that I like it and I wanted to buy it, they're not really applicable to everybody, right? You know, this is for a very specific set of people who are privileged enough to be in a very specific set of circumstances. So the reason why it's such bad value, you need look no further than Dell's own product catalog, because they also do the Inspiron line. And within the Inspiron line is the Inspiron 13 2-in-1, which is also a 13-inch convertible 2-in-1 laptop, just like this. But the Inspiron 13 2-in-1 has literally exactly the same technical specs as the XPS 2-in-1. It's got the same Intel i7-1165G7 CPU, 4 cores. It's got the exact same 16 gigs of RAM. It's got the exact same 512 gigs of NVMe PCI Express storage that I put in here. It's got the same 1080p or 4K screen that you can put in here. But the Inspiron then goes further, right? The Inspiron comes with a Stylus that has its own damn garage built into the chassis. What the hell's that about? Why'd you have to buy the Stylus separately with the XPS? What's that about, Dell? But then the XPS has got worse connectivity than the Inspiron, because the Inspiron has full-size HDMI 2.0 port on one side. It's got a full-size USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type A port on one side, as well as a Thunderbolt 4 port and an audio jack and a micro SD card slot. Whereas the XPS has 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports, audio jack, SD card. That's it. No USB Type A, no HDMI out. So connectivity is weak and no stylus. So knowing all of that, why is the XPS £2,000? Why is the Inspiron half price at 999 quid? Why did I buy the XPS? I don't know. Well, I do, but it's difficult explaining it, right? And the best analogy and the best comparison I can come up with is cars. Right, bear with me here. Outside on the driveway, I have a 2018 BMW M4 convertible. Financially, it's the worst decision I've ever made, right? It's a mortgage every month. It consumes petrol whilst it stood still on the drive. The insurance and road tax every year could pay for a couple's all-inclusive 5-star holiday abroad. I barely ever use it. It's done 9,000 miles in 3 years, right? I could have bought a Honda Civic for a fraction of the cost, and it would have been practically and functionally a better car as being a form of transport, right? But I didn't. Knowing all of that, I still went and bought an M4 because I wanted to. Because I could, right? Because I wanted a ridiculously over-engineered air collar blowing warm air on my neck when I've got the roof down. I wanted glowing M4 badges on my seats, right? I wanted Napa leather, carbon fiber. I wanted 444 horses that sound like Satan bollocking his dog Fido for chewing through his phone charger cable. I wanted the M-car experience because I could. Didn't need it, but I wanted it. Because when you look at a car like that, and when you get in a car like that, you feel good. It makes it all worthwhile. And to some people, that's what it's all about. That's what they go to work for, to buy things, to make their life more comfortable. Some people might not understand that. That's fine. But to some people, that's what they work for. Why else? Is to get paid to make your life more comfortable. Different people use different money in different ways, not the time. But for some people, that's what it's all about. And that's where I see the XPS fitting into the stack. How else Can you justify charging £2,000 for a laptop that has the same specs as something that costs 999 quid? Because it's a luxury premium item. And it's for a very specific set of people who can and want to buy a laptop at that price point. So who is it for? I'm keeping my videos strictly pitched at CAD and engineers, and this is not a desktop replacement because it hasn't got dedicated graphics in it, right? So even though most of our Autodesk applications and most CAD applications, right, don't have GPU acceleration built into them, this has only got onboard graphics. It doesn't have NVIDIA or AMD graphics card, therefore it doesn't have the driver support, therefore it isn't ISV certified for those applications. So it shouldn't replace your main desktop. However, it does have the power to actually do that. It may be more powerful than a lot of people's main desktops. It's that good. But I wouldn't recommend it as your main desktop replacement, not only just because of the lack of graphics, but also the ports and the connectivity, right? You're hooking up 3D mice, keyboards, normal mouse, external hard drives, that kind of stuff. You'd be dongled up to the nose in here. It's just not worth it for me. So is a second laptop ideal, right? Drop it in a travel bag, take it out wherever you go, once you can go. Working around the home, away from your main desktop, just on the sofa, doing a bit of light work, bit of recreational work, right? Yes, way overpriced for something like that, but it's for the people that don't mind doing that. It's for people who don't need to look at value. They don't need a return on their investment. They don't need bang for the buck. They're quite happy to buy the best for something that's it's just a nice product, you know. And it really is a nice product. Like, this is crafted out of a single block of aluminium. When you hold it, it feels like you're holding something that's been chiseled out of the engine block of a Formula One car. Whereas something like the Inspiron is anodized magnesium alloy. You know, it won't be the best. This is solid. There's no flex in this. When you pick it up, it feels solid and expensive. The inside of it, the surface quality of the carbon fibers, it's like a smooth, very it's almost borderline sexual feel to the surface of the interior, and all the edges, you know, the beveled aluminium chamfers, they're just so precise. All the seams, all the joints, absolute precision across the board. It's almost like Dell peacocking their manufacturing and technical expertise into a single product. And the same with the style, like how something could be so plain, but at the same time be so classy and distinguished, is a masterclass in design. And another reason why I chose the XPS over the Inspiron is for things like the keyboard. Knowing the keyboard in here is spectacular. It's magnetic levitation or maglev keys. The Inspiron, for example, will have just a keyboard, right? You press the buttons, things happen. It'll do the job. This makes you want to type shit when you've got nothing to type. The keys are spectacular. They sound nice and they feel nice when you're typing on them. So when you're using this, it just makes you feel good when you're using it. It's a small thing in life, but it's one of those things that when you've got it, you feel good about having bought what you've bought. And that keyboard really is something special. But speaking of special, the performance, right? The performance in here is insane. Nothing short of insane. How they've wedged so much power into such a thin chassis is mind-bending. So the i7-1165G7 that's in this one, I struggle to recommend this with the i5 in, but the i7 on my benchmark tool, Invmark, which has kinematic simulation, large assembly builds, FEA, graphics tests, a whole bunch of stuff on Autodesk Inventor. This laptop scored 38,000 ballpark. Now that's in the same league as the best workstation money could buy from 3 years ago. The HP Z2 Tower that I built my entire Autodesk University class around, that had the Coffee Lake based Xeon E2176G in it. So this has as much power as the best workstations money could buy from 3 years ago. So you could say, well, surely that means you can use it as a desktop replacement. You can, I just wouldn't recommend it because of the lack of ISV support via lack of graphics cards. But yeah, look, the power in here is insane. The lack of the graphics card will potentially hold you up in other applications that aren't Autodesk based, that do require GPU acceleration. It's each to their own, right? It depends what you're doing. But the battery, though, the battery's okay. You get 9 hours out of it on the 4K panel. With the 1080p panel, you'll get around 14 hours. That was using my very unrealistic running a YouTube video countdown timer on low brightness all night. The screen's one of those things where it's a choice you've got to make. But for me, it's not a choice, right? Do not even think about going for the 1080p display to save money. That ship sailed, right? Get the 4K display. I've seen many tech journalists say that it's pointless putting a 4K display into a 13-inch laptop. Nonsense. Absolute hee-haw. Look at this and tell me you can't see the difference between a 4K and 1080p panel. Of course you can. The 4K panel is miles sharper. It's got better color reproduction. It's brighter. It's far better quality. Yes, you do take a hit on the battery, but you're not buying this to get you to min-max value. And productivity is a thing that you want. Sure, get the 1080p display, but if you're buying a luxury item, you pick the luxury parts, and the 4K is the luxury part to put into this laptop.
The webcam's 720p, 30 frames per second. It's not the best, but it's got to fit into this little thin bezel running along the top, so you can compromise. We're still in the world of compromises, but even with a blinding ring light sort of artificially lighting me, it's still quite dark. I'm filming at night, so the room is artificially lit with ceiling lights, but the scene is dark. It's not the best. It's about as good as it's going to get really for a thinner light. The microphone's not actually terrible. It's not as bad as I was expecting it to be. And the speakers in the laptop as well are pretty good for a thinner light. They're not the best on the market, but they are better than other laptops that I've tested. Let's put it that way. Decent high-end, good enough bass, and the quality and the crispness of the sound is good enough for a laptop. So yeah, this is your webcam and this is your microphone.
So the Stylus, right? The Stylus is completely separate. You have to buy this. This was 125 quid for this glorified posh crayon. I'm not a fan. I bought this thinking, you never know. It might be fine, right? I might find a use for it. No, all I'm using this for is for just scrolling up and down Google Chrome when I'm on the sofa looking through internet sites. I can't. Who does this, right? Who sits and does notes on a tablet like this in a meeting? Nobody. Right? If you are that person, what are you doing? What do you do with those notes? You're writing you can write 2 words per line on a screen like this. What do you do with those notes? Nothing, right? If that is you, if you do that and you do use them and you found a way of making that useful, good for you. For me, I end up making notes and then I never see that note again. I forget I did it. And the lag on the pen is not the best either, right? Whether that's Dell's issue or whether that's a Windows 10 thing, I'm not sure. All I know is it's not the best experience trying to do any kind of typing or writing or art using this stylus. But for 125 quid, it's a great web browsing scroller. So in conclusion, look, there is a lot to complain about, but overall, as a product, it's the best. It's the best laptop I've ever owned. It still is. I hate the ports. The ports are naff, but I've seen other people make videos on this, and I wish they put a full-size USB-A port in. Mate, if they put a full-size USB-A port in here, the thing would be much thicker. They can't put a USB-A port in here. So I understand the trade-off between ports and thickness. The weight of it's compromised again, because the aluminium has made it a bit heavier than it otherwise could have been. But I think for something like this, it's all about the design and just the premium feel to it. And the reliability, obviously, it's very well made. Yeah, it's for a very specific set of people who don't mind paying way over the odds for a spec that they could get far cheaper, but they're happy to pay that premium for a product that is outstandingly built. And it's the best. So there you go. I have no doubt there'll be a mass amount of people who are just like, yeah, well, I'm not doing that. I'd rather buy something cheaper. Absolutely, mate. I completely agree with you. I'm just saying how it is. How else can you justify the twice the price for the same spec? It is what it is. But it is the Dell XPS 13 2-in-1. It's magnificent. And yeah, one of my favorite laptops of all time. So there you go. That's my take on the XPS 13 2-in-1. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, drop it a like, do the YouTube dance, subscribe, notifications on, all that kind of stuff. Invmark dropping very soon. We're very nearly finished with it. Get subscribed if you want to see what that's all about and how to get your hands on it, coming very soon. Thanks very much, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.